The red warning lights flashed across the command center as another explosion shook the building. Elder diplomat Hyun Woo grabbed the metal railing to keep from falling. Outside the thick windows, he could see the dark shapes of enemy ships filling the sky like angry clouds. "How many more evacuation ships can we get off the planet?" Hyun Woo asked the young officer next to him. "Maybe 20 more, sir. But the Korthak fleet is getting closer. They are shooting down our ships faster than we can launch them," the officer replied, his voice shaking. Hyun Woo closed his eyes for a moment. His people, the Vallani, had lived in peace for over 1,000 years. They built beautiful cities, created amazing art, and helped other species across the galaxy. They never hurt anyone. But that did not matter to the Korthak Empire. The Korthak wanted their planet, and they would kill every Vallani to get it. Across. The command center. Communications officer. So Young worked frantically at her station. Her blue fingers moved quickly across the glowing buttons and screens. She had been trying for hours to send a message into deep space, hoping someone would hear their call for help. "So Young, any luck with the distress signal?" Hyun Woo called out over the noise of another explosion. So Young looked up with tears in her large, dark eyes. "I am trying, Elder. I found the old records about the Deathworlders. The ancient texts say they once protected peaceful species from evil empires like the Korthak. But those are just old stories," said Captain Do-hyun, the military commander. "The Deathworlders disappeared 10,000 years ago. Even if they existed, they are probably all dead now." So Young shook her head. "The records show they were real. They had the most powerful ships in the galaxy. They could destroy entire fleets with just a few vessels. If anyone can save us, it is them." Hyun Woo walked over to So Young's station. The young female was their best communications expert. If anyone could reach the legendary Deathworlders, it would be her. "What do you need from me?" Hyun Woo asked. "Permission to use all our remaining power for one massive transmission. It will drain our shields and weapons, but the message will reach far into the galaxy," So Young explained. Captain Do-hyun stepped forward. "Elder, that is too dangerous. Without shields, the next Korthak attack will destroy this entire facility." Hyun Woo looked around the command center. Half the stations were empty because their operators had already been evacuated. The remaining Vallani worked desperately to coordinate the escape of their people. Through the windows, he could see more explosions lighting up the city. "Do it," Hyun Woo said finally. "If we cannot get help, we are all dead anyway." So Young nodded and began working on her equipment. She pulled up the ancient language files and started translating their message into what she thought was the old Deathworlder language. The text was difficult to read, and many words had multiple meanings. "I am sending everything we know about our situation," So Young said as she worked. "Our location, the size of the Korthak fleet, how many civilians need rescue. I am telling them that the most savage force in the galaxy is about to destroy the last peaceful species in this sector." The building shook again, harder this time. Several ceiling panels fell down and sparks flew from damaged equipment. Captain Do-hyun checked his tactical display and cursed in the old Vallani language. "Elder, the Korthak have broken through our outer defenses. They will reach the capital city in 2 hours." Hyun Woo felt cold inside. 2 hours was not enough time to evacuate everyone. Millions of Vallani civilians were still in the city, hiding in shelters and underground tunnels. They had nowhere to run. "Message ready for transmission," So Young announced. "Powering up the deep space communications array now." The lights dimmed as all the building's power flowed into the massive communications dish on the roof. So Young's screen showed energy levels climbing higher and higher. Outside, their defense shields flickered and disappeared. "Transmission sent," So Young said quietly. "The message is traveling faster than light toward the outer galaxy regions where the old records say the Deathworlders might be." For a moment, nobody spoke. They all knew this was probably their last hope. If the Deathworlders did not answer, or if they no longer existed, then the Vellani species would be extinct within days. How long before we might get an answer? Hyunwoo asked. If someone receives the message and responds immediately, maybe 6 hours for a reply. But Elder... So Young hesitated. What is it? Some of the ancient words were confusing. I had to guess at the meanings. I hope I translated everything correctly. Far away in space, the distress signal traveled through the dark between stars. So Young had worked hard to translate the message, but the ancient records were damaged and unclear. She did not know that the language she thought belonged to the Deathworlders was actually something else entirely. The signal passed by empty star systems and dead worlds. It flew through asteroid fields and past sleeping space stations. Finally, after traveling for hours, it reached a small military outpost on the edge of a spiral arm. Captain Jae-min was drinking coffee and reading reports when the communication alert sounded on his ship, the UES Thunderstrike. He was stationed at Earth's Outer Rim Defense Station, one of many small outposts that watched for threats coming from deep space. Captain, we are receiving a distress signal on an unknown frequency, said his communications officer. The language appears to be, well, it might be human, but it is very strange. Jae-min set down his coffee cup. In his 5 years at the outpost, they had never received a distress call from aliens. Earth had been searching for other intelligent life for decades without success. Can you translate it? Working on it, sir. The computer says it is asking for help from something called Deathworlders. It mentions a massive fleet attacking peaceful civilians. Jae-min stared at the communication display. Someone out there was asking for help, and they had sent the message to humanity. He did not understand why aliens would call humans Deathworlders, but the desperation in the signal was clear even through the translation errors. Send this to Earth Command immediately, Jae-min ordered. Priority 1. Transmission. On Ashara Prime, Hyunwoo watched the Korthak ships getting closer to the city. The first evacuation shuttles were being destroyed as they tried to leave the planet's atmosphere. His people were dying and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Any response to our message? He asked. So Young. She shook her head sadly. Nothing yet, Elder, but I will keep listening. Neither of them knew that their desperate call for help had reached someone unexpected. Somewhere far away, humans were preparing to respond to what they thought was a call for help from fellow humans. The greatest misunderstanding in galactic history had just begun. Admiral Da-un walked quickly through the corridors of Earth Defense Command. Her boots clicked against the metal floor as she headed toward the emergency briefing room. The call had come in 30 minutes ago, and she still could not believe what she had heard. Admiral, the analysis team is waiting for you, said Lieutenant Commander Min-ho as he fell into step beside her. Have you reviewed the transmission? Dae-eun asked without slowing down. Yes, ma'am. It is definitely alien in origin. The signal came from a star system about 40 light-years from here. Whoever sent it is in serious trouble. Da-eun entered the briefing room where a dozen officers were already seated around the large table. The main screen showed a star map, with the signal's origin point marked in red. Everyone looked tired and worried. Report, Da-eun said as she took her seat at the head of the table. Captain Lee stood up and activated his presentation. At 800 hours, Captain Jae-min at Outer Rim Station intercepted this distress signal. The message was sent using primitive, faster-than-light communication technology. Our computers needed 4 hours to fully translate it. The screen changed to show the translated text. Da-eun read it carefully, her expression growing more serious with each line. They call themselves the Vellani, Captain Lee continued. According to the message, they are peaceful civilians being attacked by something called the Korthak Empire. The Korthak fleet has over 200 ships and is systematically destroying Vellani cities. What did they mean by calling for Deathworlders? Asked Colonel Park from the Marine Division. Lieutenant Commander Min-ho pulled up another screen. That part is confusing. The translation software suggests they think Deathworlders means some kind of legendary protector species. But the way they describe these Deathworlders matches human military capabilities almost exactly. Admiral Da-Un studied the tactical information. The alien message included detailed scans of the attacking fleet. Even with primitive technology, the Vallani had managed to gather good intelligence about their enemies. "What is our assessment of this Korthak Empire?" she asked. Commander Kim from the Intelligence Division stood up. "Based on the ship designs and weapon signatures in the transmission, the Korthak military technology is roughly equivalent to what Earth used 50 years ago. Their largest ships are about half the size of our current destroyers. And their numbers? The message mentions 230 vessels in the main attack fleet, but these appear to be mostly small combat ships and troop transports, maybe 20 actual warships by our standards." Da-Un leaned back in her chair and thought carefully. Humanity had been alone in the galaxy for so long that many people had stopped believing other intelligent life existed. Now they had proof that not only did aliens exist, but some of them needed help. "Ma'am, there is something else," said Dr. Tae Young from the Xenobiology Department. "The linguistic analysis suggests the Vallani made a translation error. They were not trying to contact us specifically. They thought they were calling some other species." "Does that change anything?" Da-Un asked. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. Humanity had accidentally received a distress call meant for someone else. They had no obligation to respond. It would be safer to ignore the message and pretend they never received it. But Admiral Da-Un thought about the desperate tone of the alien message. Somewhere in space, innocent civilians were being murdered by an aggressive empire. The Vallani had no military, no weapons to defend themselves. They were artists and teachers and farmers who just wanted to live in peace. "How quickly can we assemble a response fleet?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Minho looked surprised. "Ma'am, are you sure that is wise? We know nothing about galactic politics or these alien species. Getting involved could be dangerous." "Minho, what do you see when you look at this tactical data?" Minho studied the information again. "I see a technologically inferior force attacking defenseless civilians." "Exactly. And what does humanity do when we see genocide being committed?" The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Colonel Park spoke up. "We stop it, ma'am." Da-Un nodded. "Contact Fleet Admiral Sung Jin. Tell him to prepare Task Force 7 for immediate deployment. I want our best ships and most experienced crews." "What about first contact protocols?" asked Dr. Tae Young. "We have never met aliens before. There could be cultural misunderstandings or—" "Doctor, I am putting you in charge of the xenobiology team. You will travel with the fleet and handle all first contact procedures. But right now, people are dying. We can worry about cultural sensitivity after we stop the killing." Over the next 6 hours, Earth's military moved faster than it ever had before. Warships that had been on patrol duty received emergency recall orders. Supply ships loaded ammunition and medical supplies. Marines packed their gear and prepared for deployment to an alien world. Fleet Admiral Sung Jin stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched his fleet assemble. The massive dreadnought was humanity's most powerful warship, equipped with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Around it, 3 heavy cruisers and 12 destroyers formed up in perfect formation. "Fleet status report," Sung Jin requested. His aide, Commander Han, read from his tablet. "All ships report ready for hyperspace jump. Colonel Hai Jin has 2,000 Marines embarked across the fleet. Dr. Tae Young's science team is aboard the Indomitable with full xenobiology equipment. And our orders from Earth Command? Proceed to the Vallani system. Assess the situation. If civilians are in danger, provide assistance as needed. Establish peaceful contact with any alien species we encounter." Sung Jin nodded. The orders sounded simple, but he knew this mission would be anything but simple. Humanity was about to make first contact with alien species in the middle of a war zone. Everything they did in the next few days would determine how the galaxy saw the human race. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump, Sheng Jin announced over the fleet communication channel. In the engine rooms of 16 human warships, exotic matter reactors spun up to full power. Space around the fleet began to bend and twist as the ship's hyperspace drives activated. One by one, the vessels disappeared in flashes of blue light. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation around the sun. Most humans had no idea that their species had just taken its first step onto the galactic stage. In a few days, the name human would be known throughout the galaxy, but not for the reasons anyone expected. The journey to the Vallani system would take 18 hours at maximum hyperspace speed. During that time, the fleet's computers ran thousands of combat simulations. The tactical officers planned dozens of different scenarios. The Marines practiced urban combat techniques for fighting on an alien world, but none of them understood what they were really flying toward. The Vallani had not contacted the legendary Deathworlders they thought they were calling. They had contacted something far more dangerous, a young, aggressive species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of war against itself. Fleet Admiral Sheng Jin stood in his ready room and looked out at the swirling colors of hyperspace. Tomorrow, his ships would drop out of hyperspace in an alien star system. They would meet creatures from other worlds, see technologies beyond human imagination, and possibly fight a battle that would determine the fate of an entire species. He thought about Admiral Daun's final words before the fleet departed. Remember, we are not going there as conquerors. We are going as protectors. Show them the best of what humanity can be. But Sheng Jin also knew that sometimes being a protector meant being willing to destroy those who threatened the innocent. If the Korthak Empire wanted a fight, they would get one. They just had no idea what they were about to face. In 18 hours, the galaxy would meet humanity, and nothing would ever be the same. Commander Dong Hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the final assault on Ashara Prime begin. Hundreds of Korthak ships moved toward the planet like a pack of metal wolves. The remaining Vallani defense platforms were burning wreckage now, and their evacuation ships fled in all directions. "Sir, our ground forces report the capital city will fall within hours," said Intelligence Officer Wu Jin. "The Vallani military has completely collapsed." Dong Hyun smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The Korthak were warriors, bred for conquest. They had spent centuries expanding their empire by crushing weak species like the Vallani. This would be another easy victory to add to their record. "Any word from the other Vallani colonies?" Dong Hyun asked. 3 more systems have surrendered, without fighting. "They know resistance is useless," Wu Jin replied. On the planet below, elder diplomat Hyun Woo helped load the last group of Vallani children onto an evacuation ship. The spaceport was chaos as thousands of civilians tried to escape. Many ships had already been destroyed by Korthak fighters, but they had to keep trying. "Elder, we have room for 50 more passengers," called the ship's captain. Hyunwoo looked around at the crowds of frightened Vallani. So many families, so many young ones who deserved a chance to live. How could he choose who lived and who died? Take the youngest first, he decided. The children have the best chance to rebuild our culture somewhere else. Communications officer So Young ran toward them across the landing pad. Her uniform was torn and dirty from helping with the evacuation. She looked exhausted but excited. "Elder, I got a response to our distress signal." Hyun-woo felt his heart jump. "The Deathworlders answered?" Something answered. "The transmission is coming from the edge of our star system. Whoever they are, they will be here soon." Above them, more explosions lit up the sky as Korthak ships destroyed another refugee convoy. Hyun-woo tried not to think about how many had just died. What did they say in their message? So Young activated her portable communicator. The translation is difficult, but I think they said, "Help is coming. Protect civilians until we arrive." It was not much, but it was hope. Hyun-woo had been ready to die with his people. Now maybe, just maybe, some of them might survive. On the Korthak flagship, Dong-hyun was reviewing casualty reports when his sensor operator called out in alarm. "Commander, I am detecting new ships entering the system." Dong-hyun looked at his tactical display. 16 unknown vessels had appeared at the edge of sensor range. They were moving fast toward the planet, but their design was unlike anything in the Korthak database. "Are they Vellani reinforcements?" Dong-hyun asked. "No, sir. These ships are much larger than anything the Vellani build, and their energy signatures are unusual." Woo Jin studied the sensor data carefully. "Sir, I think these might be the species the Vellani were trying to contact, the ones they call Deathworlders." Dong-hyun laughed. The Deathworlders were just an old myth, stories told by weak species who dreamed of magical protectors. Even if they had once existed, that was thousands of years ago. How many ships? 16 total. 1 very large vessel, 3 medium ships, and 12 smaller ones. Dong-hyun counted his own fleet. Over 200 Korthak warships, plus support vessels, and troop transports. Even if these newcomers were advanced, they were completely outnumbered. "Send them a warning to withdraw or be destroyed," Dong-hyun ordered. Captain Young-soo piloted his diplomatic shuttle toward the largest group of Vellani refugee ships. Behind him, the human fleet maintained a defensive formation while they tried to understand the situation. "Captain, we are receiving multiple communications on different frequencies," said his communications officer. "Some are in the same language as the distress signal, but others appear to be from the attacking force. Can you translate them?" "Working on it, sir. The attackers are demanding that we withdraw from the system. The other signals seem to be asking for help." Young-soo had volunteered for this mission because he wanted to be part of humanity's first contact with aliens. He had imagined peaceful meetings with wise alien diplomats. Instead, he was flying into the middle of a war. "There," his pilot pointed toward a cluster of damaged ships near the planet. "Those match the design specifications from the distress signal. They must be the Vellani." The shuttle approached carefully, broadcasting friendship messages on multiple frequencies. Young-soo could see that many of the alien ships were badly damaged. Some were venting atmosphere and debris into space. "Captain, one of the alien ships is responding. They want to establish direct communication." The main screen activated, showing the interior of an alien bridge. Young-soo found himself looking at his first extraterrestrial being. The creature was humanoid, but taller and thinner than humans, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. It wore elaborate robes and looked very frightened. "I am Elder Diplomat Hyun-woo of the Vellani Republic," the alien said through the translation system. Who are you?" Young-soo took a deep breath. This was the moment that would be remembered in history books forever. "I am Captain Young-soo of the Human Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal and came to help." Hyun-woo stared at the strange creature on his screen. It looked almost like a Vellani, but with darker skin and different facial features. "And what did it mean by Human Defense Fleet?" "Forgive me, Captain, but I think there has been a misunderstanding. We were trying to contact the Deathworlders, the ancient protector species. Are you Deathworlders?" Young-soo looked confused. "I do not know what Deathworlders are. We are humans, from the planet Earth, but we came because you needed help." The translation took several seconds, and Hyun-woo felt cold dread filling his stomach. They had called the wrong species. These humans were not the legendary warriors of old. They were just another species that had stumbled into the Korthak's path. "Captain Young-soo, you must leave this system immediately," Hyun-woo said urgently. "The Korthak Empire has over 200 warships here. They will destroy your fleet without mercy. I am sorry we brought you into this by accident." Young-soo looked at the tactical display on his shuttle. He could see the massive alien fleet surrounding the planet. The Korthak ships outnumbered the human fleet by more than 10 to 1. Elder Hyunwoo, how many civilian ships are you trying to evacuate? Maybe 300 vessels, carrying 2 million refugees, but most will not escape before the Korthak destroy them. 2 million innocent people. Young-soo thought about his own family back on Earth, his children who played in safe parks and went to school without fear. These Vellani children deserved the same chance. "We will not abandon you," Young-soo said firmly. "But Captain, your fleet is too small. The Korthak will destroy you." On the UES Indomitable, Fleet Admiral Seung Jin reviewed the first contact reports. Engineer Bo Ram had completed her analysis of both alien fleets, and the results were surprising. "Admiral, the Korthak technology is primitive compared to our systems," Bo Ram reported. "Their ships use chemical rockets and basic fusion reactors. Their weapons are simple plasma cannons and kinetic projectiles. And the Vellani? Even more primitive. They seem to be a peaceful species with no military technology at all. Their ships are designed for exploration and trade, not combat." Dr. Tae-young looked up from her xenobiology console. "Sir, the cultural analysis is complete. The Vellani appear to be genuine refugees fleeing genocide. The Korthak are systematically destroying their colonies and enslaving survivors." Seung Jin studied the tactical situation. His fleet was outnumbered, but they had overwhelming technological superiority. More importantly, they had a clear moral obligation. "All ships, this is Fleet Admiral Seung Jin. We have confirmed that innocent civilians are being slaughtered by an aggressive military force. Our mission is now simple: protect the refugees and neutralize the threat." On his shuttle, Captain Young-soo was still talking with Elder Hyunwoo when the Korthak ultimatum arrived. "Unknown vessels. This is Commander Dong-hyun of the Korthak Third Fleet. You are interfering in official imperial business. Withdraw from this system immediately or be destroyed." Hyunwoo watched the human captain's face carefully. Would these strangers flee like sensible beings, or would they try to be heroes and die uselessly? Young-soo was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated his response transmitter. "This is Captain Young-soo of the Human Defense Fleet. We are responding to a distress call from civilians under attack. End your assault on non-combatants and withdraw your forces or face the consequences." Hyunwoo stared in amazement. This human was challenging an entire Korthak fleet to save people he had never met before. Either the humans were incredibly brave or they had no idea what they were facing. He was about to find out which one it was. Translator Sunmi worked frantically at her station aboard the UES Indomitable as more alien communications flooded in. The linguistic computer was struggling to handle 3 different alien languages at once, and the cultural differences were creating massive translation problems. "Admiral, I am getting conflicting messages from multiple sources," Sunmi reported to Fleet Admiral Seung Jin. "The Vellani keep trying to warn us about something called the most lethal fleet in the galaxy, but they seem to think we are not who they were expecting." "What about the Korthak messages?" "They are threatening us with destruction if we do not withdraw. But, sir, their language patterns suggest they do not consider us a serious threat. They think we are just another weak species." Dr. Tae-young looked up from her xenoarchaeology workstation. "Admiral, I have been analyzing the historical data the Vellani transmitted with their distress signal. The situation is more complicated than we thought." "Explain." "The Vellani were not trying to contact us at all. They were attempting to reach a species called the Deathworlders, who supposedly protected the galaxy 10,000 years ago. According to their records, the Deathworlders had ships that could destroy entire fleets and weapons that could crack planets." Seung Jin frowned. "And they think we are these Deathworlders?" "No, sir. That is the problem. They know we are not Deathworlders, because we told them we are humans. Now they think they accidentally contacted the wrong species and doomed us all." On the Korthak flagship, Commander Dong-hyun was growing impatient. The unknown aliens had ignored his warning and were still approaching the planet. His intelligence. Officer Wu Jin had been analyzing their ships for the past hour. "What do we know about these humans?" Dong Hyun asked. "Their technology is unusual, sir. The ships use some kind of exotic matter propulsion system we have never seen before. Their hulls are made from materials that do not appear in our database. Are they a threat?" Wu Jin hesitated. "It is difficult to say, Commander. Their ships are larger than ours, but they only have 16 vessels total. Even with advanced technology, they cannot possibly stand against our entire fleet." Dong Hyun nodded. The humans were probably scavengers or traders who had stumbled into the wrong place at the wrong time. Once he destroyed a few of their ships, the rest would flee. "Prepare the fleet for combat. We will crush these humans quickly, and then finish dealing with the Villani." On the surface of Ashara Prime, elder diplomat Hyun Woo coordinated the evacuation efforts while staying in contact with Captain Young Soo. The human captain had docked his shuttle with the Villani command ship so they could communicate more easily. "Captain, you must understand," Hyun Woo pleaded. "The Korthak Empire has conquered dozens of star systems. Their military is ruthless and experienced. Your 16 ships cannot possibly defeat them." Young-Soo studied the tactical display showing the positions of all the ships in the system. "Elder Hyun-Woo, can you tell me more about these Deathworlders you were trying to contact?" "They are legends from the ancient times. The stories say they came from a world so dangerous that it made them the ultimate warriors. They could destroy any enemy, no matter how powerful. But Elder, they vanished thousands of years ago. Some say they transcended to a higher plane of existence. Others believe they simply died out." "What made their world so dangerous?" Hyun Woo accessed his historical database. According to the old texts, their planet was covered in poison water that burned like acid. The air was toxic gas that would kill most species in minutes. Deadly creatures lived everywhere, and the weather could destroy entire cities. The gravity was so strong it would crush normal beings. Only the most savage and brutal species could survive there. Young Soo looked thoughtful. "That sounds like Earth during certain periods of its history." "I do not understand. Our oceans are salt water, which is poisonous to drink. Our atmosphere is 21% oxygen, which is toxic to many life forms. We have dangerous predators, like sharks, bears, and venomous snakes. Our weather includes hurricanes, tornadoes, and earthquakes. And Earth's gravity is quite strong compared to most habitable worlds we have theorized about." Hyun Woo stared at the human in growing horror. "Captain, are you saying that your species evolved on a death world?" "We just call it home," Young Soo replied with a smile. Meanwhile, Dr. Tae Young had made another disturbing discovery. She called Admiral Seung Jin to her workstation urgently. "Sir, I have been comparing the Deathworlder legends with human history. There are some very strange similarities, such as the time frame when the Deathworlders disappeared matches exactly with when Earth lost contact with our first interstellar colony mission. The Abel's Dream expedition launched 10,000 years ago and was never heard from again." Seung Jin felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you suggesting the Deathworlders were actually ancient humans?" "It is possible, sir. If the Abel's Dream colony ship survived and established settlements in this region of the galaxy, their descendants might have become the legendary protectors the aliens remember. But why would they disappear? Unknown. Perhaps they died out. Or perhaps they withdrew from galactic affairs for some reason. But, sir, if the Villani legends are accurate, then humans have been in this galaxy far longer than we realized." Communications Officer Sunmi interrupted their conversation. "Admiral, the Korthak fleet is moving into attack formation. They are demanding one final time that we withdraw or be destroyed." "And the Villani response?" "Elder Hyun-Woo is begging us to flee. He says we have done enough by trying to help, and he does not want our deaths on his conscience." Seung Jin looked around the bridge at his crew. These were some of humanity's finest officers, trained for situations exactly like this. They had volunteered to risk their lives protecting Earth from threats. Now, they faced a choice. Abandon innocent aliens to genocide, or fight impossible odds to save them. "Sir," said Captain Kim from the heavy cruiser Seoul, "my crew is ready for combat. We did not come here to run away from bullies." "Admiral," added Commander Lee from the destroyer Busan, "the Korthak fleet composition shows mostly light vessels. Our shields and armor should be able to handle their weapons long enough to evacuate the civilians." Weapons Officer Ji Won spoke up from her station. "Sir, our tactical analysis shows the Korthak weapons are significantly less powerful than our defensive systems. We could probably destroy their entire fleet without taking serious damage." Dr. Tae-young looked concerned. "Admiral, we need to consider the larger implications. If we demonstrate advanced military capabilities, we will announce humanity's presence to the entire galaxy. There could be political consequences we cannot predict. Doctor, what does your analysis tell us about galactic civilization? Based on the Volani data, the galaxy appears to be divided into numerous small empires and independent species. Warfare seems to be common, but limited by primitive technology. If the Deathworlder legends are true, there has not been a dominant military power for thousands of years." Sunmi received another transmission. "Admiral, the Korthak are now threatening to destroy all the refugee ships if we do not withdraw immediately." That settled it for Sung Jin. The moment aliens threatened innocent civilians, the decision became simple. "All ships, this is Admiral Sung Jin. We will not abandon civilians to genocide. Prepare for combat operations. Our mission is to neutralize the Korthak threat and protect the Volani refugees." On the Volani command ship, Hyun-woo watched in amazement as the small human fleet moved into battle formation. The ships spread out in a pattern he had never seen before, with the largest vessel taking position in the center. "Captain Young-soo, your admiral is making a terrible mistake," Hyun-woo said desperately. "The Korthak will overwhelm you with pure numbers." Young-soo was quiet for a moment, then smiled sadly. "Elder Hyun-woo, there is something you need to understand about humans. We have a saying, never tell me the odds. Sometimes doing the right thing matters more than survival. But your people will die for strangers." "Yes, and that is what makes us human." Commander Dong-yun was losing patience with the stubborn aliens. "Signal all ships, begin the attack. Destroy the humans quickly so we can finish our business with the Volani." The largest space battle this sector of the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years was about to begin. But none of the participants truly understood what they were facing. The Korthak thought they were dealing with another weak species. The Volani thought they were watching brave but doomed heroes sacrifice themselves uselessly. Only the humans knew the truth. They were about to demonstrate why Earth was indeed a death world, and why the species that evolved there were not to be underestimated. Fleet Admiral Sung Jin stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched the Korthak fleet spread out across his tactical display. 230 enemy vessels formed a massive wall of steel and plasma cannons. His 16 ships looked tiny in comparison. "Fleet status report," Sung Jin requested calmly. "All ships report ready for combat, sir," replied his aide, Commander Han. "Shields at maximum power, weapons charged, and point defense systems online." "Marine dropships." "Colonel Hyajin reports her forces are ready for planetary assault if needed, sir." Commander Dong-hyun opened a communication channel to the human fleet one final time. His image appeared on screens throughout the human ships, showing a tall, muscular alien with dark gray skin and predatory yellow eyes. "I am Commander Dong-hyun of the Korthak 3rd Fleet. This is your final warning. Withdraw from this system immediately, or we will destroy every one of your ships." Fleet Admiral Sung Jin stepped forward to reply. Behind him, his bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, making final preparations for battle. "I am Fleet Admiral Seung Jin of the Human Defense Fleet. You are engaged in the systematic extermination of a civilian population. End your assault immediately and withdraw your forces or face the consequences. Dong Hyun bared his fangs in what humans would recognize as a cruel smile. You have 16 ships, human. I have over 200. Your mathematics are poor. Commander, you are about to learn that numbers are not everything in warfare. Then you will die as fools. All ships, attack pattern 7, destroy the humans. The Fide Korthak fleet surged forward like an avalanche of metal and fire. Their plasma cannons began charging, and missile tubes loaded with their most powerful warheads. They had used these same tactics to crush dozens of weaker species over the centuries. On the UES Indomitable, Weapons Officer Ji-won watched the enemy fleet approach on her targeting display. She had trained for this moment her entire career, but she had never imagined her first real battle would be against aliens. Enemy fleet entering effective weapon range in 30 seconds, Ji-won reported. All ships, maintain formation. Do not fire until I give the order, Seung-jin commanded. The Korthak ships opened fire first. Hundreds of plasma bolts and missiles streaked across space toward the human fleet. The light show was spectacular, filling the void between the fleets with deadly energy. On the Villani command ship, Elder Hyun-woo watched in horror as the massive Korthak barrage approached the tiny human fleet. Captain Young-soo stood beside him, his face grim but determined. I am sorry, Captain, Hyun-woo whispered. My people will remember your sacrifice. The Korthak weapons struck the human ships in a blaze of explosions and energy discharges. For a moment, the human fleet disappeared completely behind a wall of fire and plasma. Then the smoke cleared. All 16 human ships emerged from the barrage completely undamaged. Their shields had absorbed the entire Korthak attack without even flickering. The alien weapons had been like throwing rocks at a mountain. Commander Dong Hyun stared at his tactical display in shock. Impossible! Our weapons had no effect at all! Intelligence Officer Woo Jin frantically checked his sensors. Sir, their defensive systems are unlike anything in our database. The energy absorption rate is off our measurement scale. Then we use more firepower. All ships concentrated fire on their largest vessel. Fleet Admiral Seung-jin watched the second Korthak barrage approach his flagship. Twice as many weapons fired this time, focusing all their power on the UES Indomitable. The Korthak were trying to destroy his ship through sheer overwhelming force. The attack struck his shields and was absorbed just as easily as the first one. Enemy weapons are having no measurable effect, sir, reported his shield operator. Time to respond, Seung-jin said calmly. All ships, you are cleared to engage. Target their weapons and engines. Minimize casualties if possible. Weapons Officer. Ji-won had been waiting for this moment. Her targeting computer had already identified the optimal firing solutions for every enemy ship. Her fingers moved across the control panel with practiced precision. Firing main batteries, Ji-won announced. The UES Indomitable's primary weapons were magnetic acceleration cannons that fired tungsten rods at a significant fraction of light speed. Each projectile carried the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. The ship also mounted fusion torpedo launchers and point defense laser arrays. 16 streams of relativistic projectiles shot out from the human fleet toward the Korthak formation. At the same time, dozens of fusion torpedoes followed behind them, their exotic matter warheads primed for detonation. The results were devastating. The first Korthak ship hit by human weapons simply ceased to exist. The relativistic projectile passed completely through its hull, vaporizing everything in its path. The ship broke apart in a silent explosion of metal and flame. A second Korthak vessel tried to evade the incoming torpedoes but was too slow. The fusion warhead detonated against its shields, overloading them instantly. The secondary explosion tore the ship in half. Within the first 10 seconds of human weapons fire, 12 Korthak ships had been completely destroyed. What are those weapons? Dong Hyun screamed at his tactical officer. Unknown technology, sir. Their projectiles are moving at impossible speeds. And those explosive devices, the energy output is greater than our largest warships can generate. The human fleet continued its methodical destruction of the Korthak formation. Each human ship targeted multiple enemy vessels simultaneously. Their computers calculated firing solutions faster than Korthak minds could think. Captain Kim aboard the heavy cruiser Seoul destroyed 4 enemy ships with a single salvo. Commander Lee on the destroyer. Busan used his point defense lasers to disable an entire squadron of Korthak fighters. The smaller human vessels moved through the enemy formation like wolves among sheep. On the Vellani command ship, Hyun-woo watched in stunned amazement as the small human fleet systematically dismantled the massive Korthak armada. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were being destroyed as easily as children's toys. Captain Young-soo, Hyun-woo said in a shaking voice. "What kind of species are you?" Young-soo was watching the battle display with professional interest. "We are humans, Elder. We come from a world where everything tries to kill us from the moment we are born. We learn to be very good at survival. But your weapons, your ships, how is this possible? We have been preparing for war for our entire history. When humanity finally reached the stars, we brought our best tools with us. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 20 minutes. By the end, over half the Korthak fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The survivors were trying desperately to escape the system, their formation completely broken. Commander Dong Hyun found himself aboard one of the few undamaged Korthak ships. His flagship had been one of the first targets destroyed, and he had barely escaped in a life pod. Now he stared at the tactical display showing the complete destruction of his once mighty fleet. "Sir," said the ship's captain, "we are receiving a transmission from the humans." Fleet Admiral Seung-jin's image appeared on the screen. Behind him, Dong-hyun could see the orderly bridge of a ship that had just won an impossible victory. "Commander, Dong-hyun, this is your final opportunity to surrender. Order all remaining Korthak forces to stand down immediately, or we will continue to destroy your ships." Dong-hyun looked around at his decimated fleet. In 20 minutes, these strange humans had accomplished what no species had managed in centuries. They had utterly defeated the Korthak military. I surrender," Dong-hyun said quietly. "All Korthak ships cease fire and withdraw to minimum safe distance." "Very good, Commander. We will discuss terms for your withdrawal from Vellani space shortly." The transmission ended, leaving Dong-hyun to contemplate the impossible thing that had just happened. The humans had not just defeated the Korthak fleet, they had made it look easy. On the surface of Ashara Prime, the remaining Korthak ground forces watched in shock as their orbital support disappeared. Without their ships, they were stranded on an alien world with no way to escape. Marine Colonel Haye-jin was already preparing landing craft to deal with the surface threat. Her 2,000 Marines were eager to test their training against alien opponents. But for now, the space battle was over. The Korthak Empire's most powerful fleet had been shattered by 16 human ships. Across the galaxy, other species were already receiving reports of the impossible battle at Ashara Prime. Elder Hyun-woo stood on his bridge and stared at the tactical display showing the human fleet in perfect formation, surrounded by the wreckage of what had been the most feared military force in this sector of space. "Captain Young-soo," he said slowly, "I think I understand now why our ancestors called your people Deathworlders." Young-soo smiled grimly. "Elder, I have a feeling this is just the beginning. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten people under human protection." In the distance, escape pods and damaged Korthak ships fled toward the edge of the system. They carried with them news that would change the political landscape of the galaxy forever. Humanity had arrived, and they were everything the legends had promised and more.